Nigeria Info.
And you are very much welcome to the show. It's the Morning Crossfire holiday morning, but we are here to serve you the best of news, talk, and sports. That's what we do every day of the week on Nigeria Info FM in Lagos, Abuja, everywhere we keep it covered. And we have a conversation going on for the next hour. Pretty interesting conversation. Sit back and relax. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. This is a good time to go online and watch us and leave us your thoughts on Facebook and YouTube on our conversation. We're also on Twitter. You can reach us with the hashtag Morning Crossfire. If you'd like to join the conversation on WhatsApp, the number is 08095975805. Our conversation today, there are concerns over influx of foreigners into Lagos local marketplaces. Concerns have been raised over influx of foreigners into Lagos local marketplaces. What we're set to understand is if this is anything to worry about at all. Is it anything to worry about or is it not? So we'll be highlighting the roles of foreigners, what their work permit allows, and how this might affect the economy, and how we can, of course, ensure there is we don't have issues within our markets here in Lagos. You're welcome to the show. I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
I am Sheriff Quadry. To deal with this issue this morning, we have joining us via the telephone Mr. Muda Yusuf. Muda Yusuf is the Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Good morning, Mr. Muda.
Good morning. How are you?
Thank you for joining us. And also joining us on the phone is Mr. James Sunday, Deputy Controller, Public Relations Officer at Nigeria Immigration Service. Mr. James, good morning to you. Mr. James.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for joining us. If you are a trader in any of our local markets, a retailer, maybe a wholesaler as well, feel free to join our conversation as well this month, because this concerns you. It promises to be an interesting conversation. Go online on YouTube and Facebook and watch us live. Nigeria Info 99.3. We'll be joined also later on the program. Honorable Sanaya Gumbiade, Majority Leader, Lagos State House of Assembly, who moved this particular motion last week on the floor of the Lagos State House of Assembly.
All right. At that motion, the motion he moved, he raised concerns over the infiltration of the local markets in Lagos State by foreign nationals. It was a motion raised by Majority Leader Sanai Agubiade, representing Ikorodu 1 at the floor of the House. He lamented the foreign nationals have started developing strategies that threaten entrepreneurs and retailers in the local market. He also called for urgent need for the state government to check the development, adding that the competition is unhealthy for local marketers. Now, this generated mixed reactions from the lawmakers on the floor of the House. Some supported the motion, while some opposed this motion. Why did they oppose this motion? What did they have to say about this motion? What really is a detail of the argument that they had? Would like to listen to what conversation happened there on the floor of the House.
Hello?
Yeah, please hold on, please. Stay on the line, please.
All right, here you go.
Because they have the wherewithal, they want to shortchange the middleman by moving product from the producers to the consumers, cutting off the wholesalers and the retailers. These are unethical.
If expatriates want to do retail or whatever it is, they should have their towns, like we have in other clients. They should have their towns, which which is backed by law. So they should have their. I don't want to call the names of countries, but we know many countries across the world where we have Nigerian town in some countries outside our own country.
Our locals should be protected and not be run out of business. But I feel that it is good we situate the issues very correctly and then put and also be clear on what the facts are. In Nigeria, I don't think there is any law that prohibits a manufacturer from doing retail business.
We allow their businesses for the locals to wipe out. You can call it an act of nationalism or whatever. We have so many laws here in Lagos State that can protect our locals. All I will agitate for is for these laws to be enforced.
So our assembly correspondent today, Pratt, brought us those voices, some of the arguments on the floor of the House by lawmakers in Lagos State about are local marketers protected? Can manufacturers also engage in retail business? Well, the Lagos State House of Assembly finally resolved to call on the state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to direct the Commissioner of Commerce, Industry and Commerce, Honorable Lola Akonde, to come up with strategies to protect the state local traders. The House also called for the enforcement of the Lagos State Market Advisory Council law, as well as a decision to review the Lagos State Market Advisory Council law, to review it, upgrade it, and make the law conform to current reality. So the big question is, should local markets, should we have foreign nationals involved in retail business at a local market? Does this in any way erode the rights of citizens? And how does this overall affect the economy? We're going to start with Mr. Muda Yusuf. Overall, I mean, so the lawmakers also shied away from mentioning which foreigners, which foreign nationals, in which, in fact, we spent the whole weekend trying to
figure out.
Yeah, do you mean foreign nationals are selling gari and tomato? What really is a brawl here? We also tried reaching out to the Yaloja of Lagos, who we unfortunately could not finally get through to. But I mean, overall, what do you make of this alleged competition between foreigners and Nigerians at local market, at retail level?
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a very important issue to discuss, especially at a time when we are talking about job creation, poverty reduction, and all of that. That is why it is important when government talks about poverty reduction and job creation that we look at the policy angle, that could help us to achieve this objective. In the Lagos Chamber of Commerce, I've had complaints a number of times from market unions about this issue. The Textile Market Association have visited us at the chamber to complain about this. That is, that some foreigners are already crowding them out at the retail level. Before now, what used to happen is that these our local market traders are distributors.
Okay.
For these foreigners.
Okay.
So at least they get the product at the wholesale price, and they're able to make some margin at the retail level. But at some point, these foreigners were now selling at wholesale price at the retail level.
I see.
It is not possible for the people selling at the retail end, who are actually distributors to these people, to be able to compete with them.
No.
So I believe it's also a bit selfish and insensitive on the part of these foreigners, to the extent that they don't even feel that they should leave any margin.
But the question, I'm not sure.
For the retail.
For the retailers, one of the arguments on the floor of the House was that there is nothing stopping a manufacturer from also selling at retail level. Is there actually any law that says a manufacturer or a wholesaler, in this instance now, who are foreigners, cannot also sell at retail level? Are they flouting any law currently?
There is the issue of law. There's also the issue of morality. So we need to separate those two issues.
Okay.
If there is a weakness in the law, we can accept that there's a weakness in the law. because there's what we call the Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission Act of 1995 that liberalized the investment environment. So that is what the law is. But the morality of this, because the government is there to protect the people, and the law cannot be static. So any manufacturer, most of the local manufacturers, if you go to them to sell to you, they will sell to you at the retail price. They won't sell to you at the distributor's price.
Right.
And some of them will even direct you that go to our distributor in so address. They don't do things to undercut or undermine their distributors or their retailers. They don't do it.
Right.
Indeed.
It's not as if there is a law that compels them to do it.
Right.
But it's only fair that if you have appointed distributors, you don't go and undercut the distributors.
It's more or less like best practices, all around the world.
Exactly. And I've also had complaints from those in the computer village. They have visited me to complain that, or they visited the chamber, let me say, to complain that the people that were selling phones to them have now come down to Nigeria and now opening retail shops.
Oh, wow.
And that was affecting their business.
Right.
Mr. Muda, please.
Unfortunately, these people don't have the right kind of voice that can really escalate this matter.
Let's
At the chamber, we try to escalate it, but we perhaps haven't done enough.
Let's talk to Mr. James and see whether there is something immigration can do about this. Mr. James, once again, thank you for joining us. You heard what Mr. Muda said about manufacturers setting up retail shops in Nigeria here. I mean, they're supposed to be manufacturers and sell at wholesale prices to our distributors, local distributors here, who will then sell at retail prices, to retailers. But now these manufacturers come into this country, set up shops as retailers themselves, moving their goods into the country, then start selling at retail prices. Is there any role whatsoever? First off, I would like to know, when a foreigner is coming to do business in Nigeria, is there any kind of definition as to what and what not such foreigner, the kind of business such foreigner can do?
Thank you very much. In immigration, we don't always prefer using the word foreigners or aliens because it's derogatory.
Okay.
We rather use the word migrant for the purpose of respect for human dignity and international best practices.
All right.
As professionals.
All right.
Going to the question you asked, we have two categories of migrants. We have those within the ECOWAS sub-region that we term as citizens or member of the ECOWAS member state. These members of ECOWAS sub-region, if they are investors or manufacturers, I believe the Manufacturer Association of Nigeria must have a modus operandi for the operation of manufacturing or industries in Nigeria. We also have the local content body that monitors what is deployed into our industries. We also have the Ministry of Trade and Industries of state and federal. And in the past, we used to have Ministry of Commerce. These are bodies that are supposed to be checking what happens in the business environment. For us in immigration, we deploy our visa regime to monitor who comes into the country and who does what. And that is why it is very, very apt that the Nigerian Immigration Service, under the leadership of Muhammad Babandede, MFI, the Controller General, has stepped up its visa regime to determine who comes into the country and who does what. The future of migration control and management is beyond checkpoint and patrol basis. We are deploying e-border solution with biometrics to be able to know who comes in and who does what. And that's why we are having presently the migrant e-registration exercise that's going on.
Right.
This is also to curtail the activities of individuals within the country already. When we talk of business, you see, an individual that has quantum of money to invest as a manufacturer, if he is permitted by law to invest in Nigeria, The only agency that determines what deploys into the market is the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Industry, and Manufacturing Association of Nigeria. To know whether what this person is producing, he doesn't have the right to sell it. Because until there's a demarcation between production and sale, there will continue to be this issue of somebody coming to the country to produce and sell. Because if I have my money and I brought in my machinery, my technology, and I recruit my staff, now telling me that I cannot sell the product I'm producing is a different ball game, which the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, Ministry of Trade and Industry will have to unravel. But for us, ours is to control the individuals that are coming to the country to make sure that by level of security clearance, these individuals are not inimical to Nigerian security, we are not compromising security, and we're enforcing the law that will make Nigeria's improvement on ease of doing business ranking. Like you know, Nigeria visa regime is tailored towards making Nigerian business environment investor friendly. And government strategy is to improve business environment. Like we have the PEBEC, Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, that was introduced in 2016 under the chair of the Vice President, which has led Nigeria to improving the business world. The latest World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index stated that Nigeria moved up significantly by 15 places from 146 to 131.
Right.
And Nigeria is one of the top most improved economies in the world. And from the statistics I'm getting also from the local newspaper, in the ongoing Lagos Trade Fair, 37 Ghanaian companies are participating at the ongoing Lagos Trade Fair against 29 in 2018. A development that has also brought economy into Lagos State. So as far as we are concerned, the monitoring of who invests in Nigeria as a manufacturer and the kind of sale is solely vested on the Minister of Trade and Industry and maybe in the State Minister of Commerce.
Okay, let's talk about work permits. I mean, that's one of the things immigration handles. So, as an immigrant coming into Nigeria, what are the types of work permits? When I come in, I mean, I submit myself to immigration. What do you allow an immigrant to do? Are there types of these work permits? What are they?
The work permit issued to migrants is issued alongside with the expatriate quota approved by the Ministry of Interior. When an expatriate is coming to the country, the type of visa you are going to apply for determines the kind of job you are going to do here within the country.
Right.
So migrants coming to the country, if you are going for an SCR visa, which is called subject to regularization, it means you are coming to take up employment. If you are coming with a business visa, it means you are coming to discuss business. A business visa does not mean you are coming to outsidely coming to start a business, but to come and discuss business and to also do the process of initiating a business in the country.
Right.
Then when you are coming with a temporary work permit, it means you are coming with a permit that allows you to come and do an assignment that we don't have expertise for in the country. That means you can come over here maybe for turnaround maintenance for our refinery. If we don't have such kind of expert, you are permitted to come in with a temporary work permit, which guarantee you a specific period of time, after which you leave and return back to your country. With temporary work permit, you are not expected to stay here permanently. But the SCR visa permits you to come and work in Nigeria if you are an expert in that field. The NNPC can recruit you, other agencies can recruit you to work for them as an expert in that field. Then visitors are only expected to visit the country and go back. You are not expected to work with a visitor's pass.
Mr. James,
and if you are on transit visa only permits you to transit the country and not to stay within the country and be doing business. But specifically, for our businessmen, their own is to invest quantum of money they are having and to discuss with the locals or maybe secure approvals for space of land, for registration within that period, and permit for registration of their businesses within the period they are permitted to come in, so that when they discuss that and they have a good footage, then they can come back to their country and prepare to come and invest fully in the country. We monitor what happens in our business world after the minister must have issued you an expatriate quota and a business permit. You are expected to have understudy, that's Nigerians to understudy certain positions. which is expected that after a period of time, these understudies are supposed to also be allowed to take over based on the level of their proficiency and their professionalism. So you can see that check and balance. Nigeria Immigration Service does not work in isolation.
Right.
We work under the supervision of the Ministry of Interior that approves the business permit and departure quota, while we enforce for compliance the law that guides who does what is done by our migrant partners.
Right.
We don't monitor Nigerians because Nigerians are in their country.
Right.
But
we'll talk about that monitoring. We'll talk about that monitoring in a moment. Let's come to Rotimi. I mean, here we are trying to balance, issues. We need this foreign investment. We need the economy to thrive. I mean, Mr. Sunday has made a fantastic point about the increase in the number of foreigners in the Lagos. At the Lagos Trade Fair, which is good for us. We need them to bring the businesses, but we also need to protect the local market. Well, I'm not certain that there is a law being flouted, but as Mr. Muda Yusuf has mentioned, it's about business ethics. How do we strive this balance? Right now, some local marketers feel threatened because, they practically can't sell anything.
I think the most important thing here is to
Am I to speak?
Yeah, no, 1 minute,
hold on,
sir.
Mr.
Just hold the line, sir. We have a guest in the studio live here too.
I think the most important thing for everybody, House of Assembly member, business community, media, immigration, customs, police, all of us have to keep our eye on the big picture, and that big picture is not to promote xenophobia. And in that respect, I'm extremely proud of our colleague from the Immigration Service who has made it clear that the correct words to use are migrants, not foreigner. Because I was alarmed listening to the gentleman in the House of Assembly talking about infiltration and infiltrators as if, people have come here to fight and we should attack them. That kind of language is dangerous because there are Nigerians living legally in other countries
and doing business
in ECOWAS, in Europe, in America.
Right.
And they are involved in the entire value chain from manufacturing to wholesale to retail. If they are being described as infiltrators and so forth, and they are attacked, like Nigerians in South Africa are being attacked, if the same thing happens here, it's not going to be proper at all. So I think that is the really big picture. But really, 2 points have been made both by Muda and
Mr. James
and Mr. James from Immigration. And those 2 big points are: if you are a legal migrant and you are doing manufacturing level or scale of business, is there a law that prevents you from then going from wholesale, retail? We've seen Nigerian businesses, due to the economic crisis, that manufacture, for instance, the people manufacturing cereals, manufacturing beverages and milk. They are manufacturers, they are wholesalers. The economic crunch has pushed them into what I describe as the sachetization of the Nigerian economy. And oftentimes you see there are very big trucks parked somewhere, and then they've put all those things in bags, and in the name of promotion, ask young people to be selling those promo in the traffic.
And they're directly selling to the consumer.
Directly selling to the consumer.
Sometimes even in the market.
Yes.
They put those trucks in
yes,
the market.
Yes,
Exactly.
and they've
That's
gone
right.
from manufacturing to wholesale to retail. Now, they are a Nigerian company in quotes, but some of them are multinationals as well. Is there a law that prevents them from doing that?
Right.
So we really need to be extremely careful. And the big picture is that there's an economic crisis. Nigeria now has the second highest youth unemployment in the world. I mean, Sheriff was sharing the thing, that data last week.
Right.
If you go to my Twitter at Rotimi Sankore, I think it's the second tweet there. We have the second highest youth unemployment in the world. Next only to South Africa. South Africa is 58%. Nigeria is 36%. So we need to keep our eye on the big picture. What is causing it? What the people in Computer Village coming to complain that the wholesaler, importer, manufacturer of some of the brand items
now set up shops.
Have now set up shop either through franchise or directly to do retail.
Right.
And many people will go directly to those people.
Yeah.
Are they breaking the law? If they are not, the government is better advised, including those gentlemen in the House of Assembly, to look for ways to improve the economy rather than trying to, because really, how many migrants are they going to go after, and in what way? And
that will not threaten
yes,
them.
And how does the ordinary person on the street separate someone that looks like a migrant but is actually a Nigerian?
Right.
Because
Maybe
we need to make it clear.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
and we can
Right.
ask the immigration PRO to help clarify. Someone that looks like a migrant but is actually a Nigerian. The person was born here.
But probably has white skin.
The person's father and mother were born here.
Right.
They've been here for 100 years. Or even they've been here for 15 years, but they've naturalized.
Right.
Once that fellow in the House of Assembly starts using this kind of language, how does the ordinary person in the street tell the difference? So
let me hold you a minute.
there are real big picture issues that we need to pay attention to.
Right.
Thank you, Rotimi. You've highlighted very important things. We need to head out for a break now. Gentlemen, I will ask you to please hold the line. Mr. Muda Yusuf is with us. He's the Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We also have Mr. James Sunday, who's the Deputy Controller and Public Relations Officer, Nigeria Immigration Service. We're looking at concerns around influx of migrants into Lagos local marketplaces. This was a concern raised at the floor of the Lagos State House of Assembly. We're also trying to reach out to the lawmaker who raised this motion. He told us he'll be traveling to Abuja. We hope that his flight is landed safely, is checked out, and we can speak to him even if it's for some minutes. If not, correspondent Tunde Pratt was there. He's our State Assembly correspondent. I will be playing you a clip of the motion that he raised at the floor of the House. We're live on Facebook and YouTube where you can watch us right now.
Right.
The comments are there. I see you all. We're coming to you in a moment. We'll also take your calls. That will be after the break. Gentlemen, please hold the line. We'll go on a very short break. We'll be right back with more conversations. I am Wemimo Adewuni.
I am Sheriff Quadry.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment. From your number one talk news and sports station. This is the Morning Crossfire with Wemimo and Sheriff.
It's the Morning Crossfire. Fantastic conversation we're having here today. We need to wait and, find the balance and make sure that we don't send out people who, non-Nigerians who are doing business. At the same time, we need to protect the interests of Nigerians in these markets because they are raising genuine concerns about their inability to sell because people who are manufacturers then now allegedly sell at retail level.
Yeah, and there are specific markets, there are specific products that I think this really affects. Electronics, if you want to talk about that, textile, if you want to go in that direction as well, and a few more that will come to light. But one thing Rotimi mentioned earlier, which is very germane, is a thin line between protecting the locals and promoting xenophobia.
Right. And
we need to be careful not to cross that thin line. But we need to take some messages now. We have quite a lot of them. We're still having on the line Mr. Muda Yusuf, who is joining us via the telephone. Mr. Muda Yusuf is the Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mr. James Sunday, Deputy Controller, Public Relations Officer at Nigeria Immigration Service, is also on the line with us. Hopefully, we'll be able to reach out to Honorable Sanaya Gumbiade, Majority Leader, Lagos State House of Assembly. Hopefully he's in Abuja. He has landed safely and he will be able to join us any moment now before we end the show.
Hopefully. But if you missed out on the beginning of this conversation and you're wondering why we're having this conversation, well, it's because Honorable Sanaya Gumbiade, who's the Majority Leader, Lagos State House of Reps, raised a motion on the floor of the House. Our correspondent Tunde Pratt was there and he brought us some recordings of the motion that he raised. Would allow you to listen to this. Gentlemen, you can also hear this and we have more thoughts on this before we head to the phones.
The motion was actually based on reports and petitions, protests to the House of Assembly by some indigenous marketers who claim that there are presently practices in the market that undermine their entrepreneurship. Some of them, there are two sides to it, that in our local markets, it is fast being taken over by some nationals of some countries who ordinarily are not in the country to be petty traders and to sell in the markets, that they came under this guise of being expertise but that they are now venturing into sale of some commodities that are predominantly for the indigenous, like selling fish, selling corn, and gari and some other things like that. And from where they buy, the farmers, they have really taken over, the purchase to the extent that they cannot get things to buy any longer, because these people come with a lot of funds and they buy a whole farm that about 10-20 people may gather to buy and so like cassava and produce gari from. They buy the whole market or the whole farm off and they don't have things to. After doing that, they will now process it and come to be selling gari to the same customers they have. That is an angle to it. Another angle to it is that some of them engage in bulk sale to Nigerians who are expected to retail to the consumers. But after selling in bulk to them, they will still open retail shops in the same market and selling at lower prices because they have the strength, the financial strength, and because they are the one that sell in bulk, they still make their profits. So that having sold to them in bulk, expectedly that they will retail, they still engage in retail sale, the same market, thereby running them out of market, and they do vary the price that it will be cheaper than what they will sell. All of this, the idea of the motion is to call the attention of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry to these recent practices, and for the ministry to look deep into it and see what it could do to protect the local entrepreneurs and marketers.
Honorable Sankore Akubiade speaking with our correspondent exclusively, Tunde Pratt, on that particular issue.
Well, there you have it. Rotimi shook his head almost throughout that recording.
The Honorable needs to undergo a course on economics and public policy. See all the kinds of words that he was using. Politicians should not speak like that. I mean, all these kind of words, infiltrate, this, that, it's not proper. It's not proper, and there are logical fallacies and contradictions. In quotes, the foreigners come with a lot of funds, and now they are selling corn, fish, gari.
Now that got to me.
Yeah.
What was he talking about? What's he talking about?
He's saying those are the complaints that he received, that some marketers came protesting, and that's why he raised that motion.
People are manufacturing corn, fish, and gari, and then they are coming to sell it at the retail level.
So before this show, I made some calls.
How
and I
do you
said,
manufacture?
I find out quite.
Yeah, I made some calls before we started. I said, please explain this to me. Are you saying these people go to the other states where we make gari? They own the farms, or they buy in bulk. Mr. Muda Yusuf, you also received some complaints from these markets. Please explain to us precisely how this affects these local marketers. I mean, Honorable Sam, I just mentioned things like fish, gari, and I'm wondering, really, is that so? Did you receive any of these complaints at all?
In every country, that's what we call negative list and positive list as far as investment is concerned. The negative list will give you a list of areas in which foreign investors cannot come in. Either they cannot come in at all, or if they come in, they have to come in partnership with the indigenous investors. That is the standard practice as far as investment is concerned, and every country does it to protect local interests. For instance, in UAE, oil exploration and drilling, defense sectors, insurance, financial institutions, telecoms, ground and air transportation, as a foreign investor, you cannot own it 100%. You have to own it in partnership with the locals. We have similar laws, even in the United States, even in China. Only recently, China was just beginning to liberalize. You also have a list of areas in which foreign investors cannot go into. So it's a normal thing to protect your sector or to protect your people. The distributive state sector contributes about 16 or 17% of our GDP. If there's anything we did not lack in terms of expertise in Nigeria, it's about trading. So if the Minister of Interior is given a work permit, I don't expect that a work permit should be given to somebody to come into Oshodi market or Moshi market or Balogu market to open a shop. That is not right.
Let me take a comment from Facebook precisely on this thing you've mentioned. Festus Okundia says, I need you to respond to this. Festus Okundia, one of our listeners on Facebook, says, is this not the type of law being implemented in Ghana that Nigerians are complaining about in Ghana? Someone else says that Nigerians also trade in local markets in Ghana, and we're complaining that they're being marginalized. So is it not the same thing? Yes, I need you to respond to that.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, please, go ahead.
You see, as Nigerians, we are not worried about Africans coming here. We can stand them. In fact, they cannot stand us. But when people come from outside of Africa, and most of these people are actually from Asia, they pose a threat to our people because they have a much bigger capacity to muzzle them out of business. That is it. I mean, if you exist as a government, you have a primary responsibility to your own people. In ECOWAS, where we are signatories to ECOWAS, we are not complaining about ECOWAS. We are not complaining about African countries. But we are complaining about people who come from other outside of Africa who have this capital And you see, it's a different thing if they have come here to set up a manufacturing firm. You need to also understand this. This group of people we are talking about, they just import these things into the country and begin to sell.
You mentioned you mentioned protection of local businesses earlier.
Yes.
Are you aware of any law whatsoever, local law here, that protects local businesses?
You see, one of the ways we can deal with this is the work permit window.
Yeah.
If you are issuing a work permit, the immigration man said it, that they issue work permit only for areas in which we don't have Nigerians' competencies. But if you look around people, is that the kind of work permit they are issuing? So we have an institutional problem in the way we manage both the expatriate quota and the work permit.
Okay, one final thought before we head.
Somebody can get a work permit and go to Mushi Market and.
Precisely. Let me head to Mr. James Sunday on this one. Before we go to the phones, you mentioned that you also monitor when you give this work permit to migrants who, depending on what the type of visa they have is, what kind of work can they do in Nigeria. Now that we have these complaints from local market, it raises some concerns that there's a possibility that some people are stepping beyond what their permit allows. Have you done any findings about this whatsoever?
You see, the issue of work permit and what we are discussing presently, which seems like trade permit, they are two different contracts.
Yes.
When you talk of work permit, you are talking of somebody coming to take on a professional job from outside the country, which they don't do until they come with an approved visa. And the work permit must have been approved by the Honourable Minister, and a quota will have been given for a specific position that the individual is trying to engage in. But when we talk of trade, which is the activity under discussion, I think the state government and by extension the federal government should have what is called trade permit also.
Okay.
This is my suggestion.
All right.
Trade permit will guide individuals on what kind of trade that an individual needs to engage in within the country. And that's within the purview of government. But for me as a professional, I think I'm only providing this solution because of our engagement. It will help a great deal because, you see, Nigeria cannot live in an isolation.
Right.
The parameter for ease of doing business also entails tax compliance, which also go with trade. It entails ease of obtaining permits, either for business, for construction. And since, to my knowledge, I don't think there's any state government that has enforced the law on trade permit. So if the state government will go to doing that, I think it will help a great deal.
Fantastic. Let's head to the phones right now.
Can I just make a comment on that?
All right, sir, very quickly.
Now, the immigration and the Ministry of Interior, they have a responsibility to ascertain and give permission to any person that is coming from outside into this country. And you must state what you are coming to do. If you find somebody who is selling textile in the open market in Oshodi, he must be carrying a permit. If he's not carrying a permit and he's staying there, somebody has to take them up.
You're suggesting this should be under the oversight of the Immigration Service and not the state government?
Of course. I mean, you must show a permit that allows you to come and be selling textile in Mushin. That should be a permit. Is that the kind of permit they should be issuing? So we should fix these institutional issues. It's not a sentiment of about xenophobia or something. The laws must be complied with. The laws are there for a purpose.
Right.
When you should have a work permit, it has to be a work permit.
Yes, Mr. James, go on quickly, please.
Can I please intervene?
Yes,
go on,
please.
There is no instance where a migrant who is supposed to come to Nigeria for a different thing engages in business at Mushin and is left to continue. Our officers have been doing that not only in Mushin, all over the country. In fact, the purpose for the migrant e-registration presently is to be able to know specifically what are you doing where you are. And that's why the registration is not being done by the headquarters alone. We have also allowed the state to do that. So at state level, the controllers are in charge and they monitor what happens. So nobody is given a work permit by Ministry of Interior to go and do ancillary jobs that Nigerians are supposed to engage in. There is a restrictive law on that there are certain aspects of Nigerian jobs that is restricted to only Nigerians. It's an international best practice.
Right.
So when you now discover some individuals are doing some other things like trade that does not go under the permit they are given, then it's a negation of the law. And we don't allow that because we do arrest, we repatriate, and we deport.
What's the response to the e-registration, e-migrant registration? Are people turning up for this?
The migrant e-registration is fantastic all over the country. In fact, the report is such that as at present, the step taken by federal government to give an amnesty for 6 months has also encouraged a lot of them to come out en masse.
Indeed. Let's go to the phone lines right now. In case you have been listening and you would like to be a part of the conversation, here are the numbers you can call.
Call us on 01-277-0993, 01-277-1993, 01-277-2993, and 01-277-3993. This is Nigeria Info. We are listening.
Yes, we are listening. Please, when you call us, because of time, we need you to keep your comments to 30 seconds. Please bear with us. Let's start with WhatsApp. Okay. Ferdinand says Nigerian government has a way of signing an act, but always fails to follow up by leaving the citizenry to suffer in the hands of migrants. Well, Princess Rotimi, gosh, I'm so sorry, but I can't understand that sentence. But something for Rotimi. Okay. Aurora from Ayobo says, I'm a victim of this topic in Ghana. It's clearly stated in their law that a foreigner mustn't do retail or even own a shop, but can only produce or supply. And that is why they keep locking up our shops in Ghana. Initially, the people overlooked it until they realized that foreigners have taken over their retails, especially Nigerians, and their prices are always lower than that of the little local retailers. He said he stayed in Kumasi, and most times the locals in Ghana attack Nigerians who don't have shops but sell on the roads, while the authorities lock the shops regularly. All right.
Let's speak with Francis from Alimosho. Francis, good morning to you.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning.
My morning tonic. Wemimo and Sankore.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah. Please, are we not looking at a situation whereby the foreigners engage our people, the migrants, migrants, engage our people to be their representative there in the market and still be selling at retail price.
Yeah, that's one of the complaints, that some of them employ Nigerians to then sell. So it's a bit clumsy situation.
In which case, what happens to those Nigerians?
Absolutely. So it's quite a clumsy situation.
We need to do big picture.
Yeah.
Right? Address the big picture rather than chasing symptoms.
Basi, good morning to you, Basi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Yeah, I just wanted to contribute a little bit to the program.
Please go ahead.
All right. I want to say that it's not just only now that this thing is beginning to raise head. Even when the big shopping malls, the automated shopping malls came into the country, the way they spread their tentacles was, has been so much that the government did not even bother to regulate where they go to. They go to the suburbs, taking the business of the little retailers because they were able to buy in bulk and sell at a very ridiculous discount prices. So if you go around the locals, you find that some of these automated businesses are running down the smaller businesses in the unit. So it has been a very, trying time for some of us who are into this business. Not just that, the government should see how they can regulate it. We're not asking everybody to, but they should regulate it. It's not everything that the foreign guys don't have enough capital to do and do. But they come in, they compete with us negatively. The competition is negative, not a positive one. Driving people out of the market, they are opening shops everywhere, the nooks and the corners of the local retailers are at a loss. Even
but that's because the local retailers don't have access to credit. If you have access to credit and you can scale up your business, that won't be the problem.
One important thing Rotimi also mentioned is that
it's not helping us.
Right. Rotimi also mentioned earlier that there are also quote Nigerian multinationals also selling at retail level.
Right.
Even I've seen some of them in the open market with vans selling to. Let's read some comments
Wemimo.
Yes, sir.
what you see mostly are distributors of these manufacturers.
No, they come with their truck or straight from the manufacturing.
Those things are branded.
Oh.
If you see some of this industry, they even donate vehicles to their distributors.
Yes,
branded
I know.
with their product.
Right. So those are distributors selling in the market.
Yes,
not
they
straight
sell on
from
behalf
the
of the
companies.
manufacturers.
Right.
Let's quickly speak. Let's quickly speak with. Let's speak with Chris. Has been on the line for a while. Chris, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you for holding the line. Can you
Please
speak up,
speak
Chris?
louder and 30 seconds, please.
Okay, please. I have no problem whatsoever if a migrant from any part of Africa comes into Nigeria, establish maybe on the risk level, goes to the farm, purchases gari and what have you, process it, goes to the farm, goes to market, and I don't have any problem with that. Where I have my own problem is with the big businesses, like they are very big multinationals, companies in China. They come to Nigeria, especially if you go to Ikeja, where you have the computer village. You see some Koreans. They set up retail businesses. They sell phones and other accessories imported right from their companies in China. I think I have a problem with that. I don't have any problem on the other retailers.
Right.
So the government should pay attention to those big businesses, the Koreans, the Chinese.
Right.
Go to see what they are doing in the computer village. You'll be surprised.
Right, thank you.
That's their own problem.
Thank you very much. We're running out of time, but we need to take some comment from Facebook. Kenny Noah here says, are these people manufacturers or importers? I think the foreigners that import the goods and they sell both at retail and distribution level. Mr. Muda also mentioned that some of them don't even manufacture here, they import these goods. Kade Shodimu says, on the long run, it's all about the consumer and not the retailer. A middleman must add value or he would soon be removed. We shouldn't and probably cannot stop the manufacturer from bypassing the retailers to get to the consumers. It is a duty of the retailers to come up with value additions that will make them the better choice for the consumers. But when it's all about costs,
Nigerian small businesses also need access to credit,
funds, right?
Because that's what we
To have
enable to
access,
scale up.
To scale up.
That's one of the reasons small businesses can't compete.
Absolutely.
They don't have access to credit. We should fix the right policy.
Right. Let's take a comment also from Eze Bahomi, who says, I think certain sectors like electronic gadgets, pharmaceuticals, etc. should be looked into so that manufacturers will not be selling directly to the local government. Shitabe Thabita says, God bless that lawmaker. We need to protect the local producers. We need to go, guys, but our correspondents will be going to the markets today. If you see them, please speak with them. Would like to really get a first-hand view of what's going on at various markets across Lagos. But we must go. We thank our guests for joining us today. Mr. Muda Yusuf is the Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you so much for your time and insight, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Mr. James Sunday is the Deputy Controller, Public Relations Officer, Nigeria Immigration Service. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much, Oyuma.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We tried reaching Honorable Sana Agubele. Like we told you, he had a flight, so we weren't sure if he would have arrived, check out and all yet. But a fantastic interview done exclusively by our correspondent Today Pratt, which we played to you. He would also be making more investigations into this, and you'll be listening to this on all of our other shows on Nigeria Info. Sheriff?
Yeah, that's the show this morning. Thank you for being a part of it. Rotimi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We are back tomorrow, 6 a.m.
And by tomorrow, holidays are over.
I am Sheriff Quadry. You can follow me online at Sheriff Quadry.
I'm Wemimo Adewuni. We thank Zainab Yakin, Yvonne Hefo, and Tosia Kimide. Also, Tunde Abdusalami for all working with us this morning. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. I'm Wemimo Adewuni. See me on social media as Wemimo Sport and have a fantastic holiday.